Hey YouTube, Canadian Prepper here. Just a rainy day over here in Saskatchewan, Canada. Not going to say which city. Those who know me know. Those who don't know me don't need to know. Just thinking today, I was actually thinking about this for a while. Usually I'll think about an idea for a video and then I'll let it sort of sit for a few days. See if, you know, if it gestates into anything else, and this one kind of did. So this topic is regarding the reassortment of social roles and the pecking order in SHTF. Now, when I look at modern society today, the cities, I live in a city. It's not a large city by most people's standards, but it is a city. The Darwinian principles of survival of the fittest, I'd say within the last couple hundred years, have almost been nullified in the sense that survival of the fittest no longer really applies. Now, it does in some ways, although that's changed now. If you look at any, I was watching this documentary on lions last night, and it's pretty clear who the alphas and the betas are. It's a matter of might. It's a matter of who's stronger, and, whose balls are bigger, pretty much. Betas in our more advanced modern society, with the help of the system, can actually get into positions of power. And that's not to say that everyone in position of power is a beta, or that people with those alpha-like qualities do not necessarily progress in our modern society. But one would probably have to agree that our society has permitted people who, naturally speaking, in a egalitarian tribal type scenario, who would be lower on the totem pole, have been given the opportunity to increase themselves. So the betas are held up by the system. Now, the way I see it, the higher a person is in this system, the more wealthy you are, the more prosperous and prestigious you are within a certain system, the more you have invested in it, and the greater challenge you're going to have adapting to the new conditions when the shit goes down, essentially. I heard a quote a few years back, and it actually wasn't really a quote, it was just something somebody told me, and they said, poor people aren't affected by recessions. Just like the way I talked about how the third world likely won't be affected too much by SHTF, unless it's wide-scale pandemic, which seems to be percolating right now anyways. But by and large, those at the bottom of any system don't have a lot invested in that system. If it came crashing down, life is hard for them already, and it will continue to be hard. But those people who are on the upper stages of the pyramid, they're the ones who, they have a lot further to fall when the shit goes down. So this reassortment, it's going to be very challenging for a lot of people. And I think that the leadership, it's going to be interesting to see who the real leaders are. I think, and this is just a theory of mine, you look at all the mental health issues, the shooting up the schools, the neurotic sort of behavior that's enacted in these more advanced societies, quote unquote, more advanced societies. I think that that's due to the unnatural hierarchy that has been built around this economic paradigm which rewards ass kissing. It rewards that which would not be rewarded in a tribal, egalitarian type society from which we all emerged at some point down the road. Now, this is not to say that the qualities that caused people to reach their statuses in this society are not relevant in SHTF. Even, for instance, like let's say you're a really good lawyer, in the big city and the shit goes down. Well, chances are you had a lot of self-discipline and you had a lot of, intelligence and you probably have a good head on your shoulders, in terms of analytical ability and critical thinking and stuff like that. So I'm pretty sure you could apply that to whatever situation came your way. But your $250,000 a year wage compared to Joe Blow down the street who's a cleaner, who maybe in another time would have been an alpha, but because of his lack of interest in the current system, is making only $25,000 a year. He could be the one who was higher than that person in the hierarchy once the shit goes down. He might have some, social skills, some political skills to galvanize people, and he might be like a lot of the gang bangers. They do have some of them. I mean, I work with some of them, so I kind of know what the mindset is all about. But a lot of them have a good grasp of leadership, and I know that's obviously they're doing it for the wrong reasons, and I understand that, but they know how a organized group works. Organized crime is organized. They know how a hierarchy works. So I don't know, I just think that people are going to have a hard time adapting. People who are highly adapted to an urban environment are going to have a very steep learning curve when it comes to readapting to SHTF, to a grid down scenario. Those who are just sort of on the fringes of society, those who are just hanging on, living paycheck to paycheck, even less than that, they're constantly adapting. They're in a constant state of adaptation. They haven't grown rusty in that respect. The thing that really prompted this thought, and I haven't watched the movie in months, but I originally thought about this then. And the movie is called Dawn of the Dead, 2004 version. I think it's a great zombie movie. I think there's a lot of interesting things that happen in that movie which are thought-provoking in terms of, what might happen. And I know that movies are... I'm not going to get into my views on that because I'm trying to keep my political views and stuff like that, even though I'm apolitical. But my views on those sort of things separate. But I will say that I know movies are put there for the purpose of propaganda and whatnot. Most people don't know that, or most people within the community, within the prepping community, realize that. If you don't, well, go do some research. But movie Dawn of the Dead, there's a guy in there who he sort of takes charge. He's kind of like the level-headed one. And there's a cop, Ving Rhames, who, he's kind of the muscle of the group. And he's definitely, clearly sort of the alpha within this contemporary, paradigm. Because the power invested in him by the state to grant him the right to police others. That was an authority, that was a right that was granted. It's not something that the person is naturally endowed with. But he was a cop anyways. And he was sort of beaking at this other guy who was saying, look, we should... I can't remember what it is exactly, but this is what we should do. We should... I can't remember exactly what it is, but it's something to the effect of, we should board up the doors, we should ration our supplies, we should, kind of be practically minded about what we're going to do. And he's like, who the hell are you? And the guy's like, well, I'm just I think he said something like, I just work in a video store or something like that. And then they start laughing at him. But that's sort of what I'm talking about. That some of these people who are working in these, go nowhere minimum wage jobs, a lot of those people are alphas who are trapped by this system into that rule. And when the shit goes down, there's going to be a big 52 pickup, if anybody knows what that is. A big reshuffling of the deck. And things are going to go back to a survival of the fittest type system, one governed by those principles of natural selection, which have been, for the most part, eradicated in modern society. So I just some thoughts that I had about that. I think that I don't know where I necessarily fit in that. I don't even know if, I'm sure some people even debate the whole alpha-beta hierarchical system of understanding things. But I do think that it's something worth thinking about, and, who will be the leaders in SHTF? Will it be those who are in power now? Or will it be people who are on the fringes right now? Those kept down by this society. If our society is doomed to, which I believe it's the way it's going, I believe that it's doomed for failure. It's destined to failure. It's en route. And we're getting closer. Then, if that society is destined to failure, then aren't those who are successful within that society failures to some extent? And are the failures perhaps more righteous? Are they more... I can't think of any other word. Perhaps the only word that comes to mind is holy. Are they more innocent? Anyways, the next video is probably going to be about the cardiovascular health. It's going to be the fourth part of the survival and health series. And just going to talk about a lot of different cardiovascular options and talk about what exactly is cardiovascular exercise, how you can get motivated to do more of it, why it's so important. And I also have another video I'm going to do. It's kind of a critique of the prepping community as a whole. Everybody has to have one of those at some point, I suppose. We all have our critiques, and we're all guilty also of certain things. I should probably throw out a couple shout outs here real quick. These are probably channels that a lot of the more seasoned preppers are familiar with. One of them is Dr. Bones Army, and he tells you how to do everything from how to suture up somebody to, just general medical advice. I think he's a doctor. He says he's a doctor. So, oh yeah, Dr. Bones Nurse Amy. I'll put the link in the bottom. Who else? A fellow Canadian guy who's very modest, very humble. Not really a big gun nut or anything like that, but his name is StartUpSurvival. I find him kind of interesting. Another one is Prepper Potpourri. She kind of thinks like me in terms of gear. She finds a lot of odds and ends that you wouldn't probably think about. She buys a lot of stuff, but she tends to buy. It seems like her purchases are very well thought out, and they're things that you wouldn't normally see. It's not just show and tell. It's more of stuff that you wouldn't have heard about. So that's kind of cool. And who else? I think that's all I got for now. There are a few more that I'll mention in future videos. But and another shout out to DougBase654, and of course the Prepared Mind, not the Prepared Mind 101, but the Prepared Mind. Both very insightful, thoughtful channels that I've taken a lot from. Oh yeah, one more channel is Green Power Science. This guy knows his stuff when it comes to renewable energy sources and how to use parabolic mirrors and in order to generate electricity and solar power and all that good stuff. So check those channels out. I'll post the links below, and hopefully talk to you soon, and like, comment, subscribe, all that stuff, and we'll see you soon. Thanks. Bye.